Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we are going to be starting our project. So I have already created this project, this empty project. And what I've done is when I went to File, New Project, I actually created or selected iOS app. Click Next. I made sure that core data is not selected because the template in SwiftUI, especially in Xcode 12, it gives you a lot of boilerplate code, which is great actually, but there is a lot of code that you have to delete if you want to manage core data yourself and you want to manage the flow of core data, how the whole management logic and stuff is gonna go into the core data, like how you want to manage basically your select, delete, and update information. For that reason, what I did is I deleted or I deselected or not selected any of the core data, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually add core data to our project. So that's going to also show you how you can basically take your core data and then take that core data and um, uh, basically include it into any of the existing projects. So you have a project that you have created earlier. Now you want to provide core data support for it. This is how you can basically add that support. Yep. So that's the main intent of not selecting core data, because it's actually rather easy to create that data manager and stuff. So I'll show you how we can do that. All right, so once you have entered the product name and everything, leave everything as interface SwiftUI, lifecycle SwiftUI app, language Swift. Make sure you deselect core data because we're going to be adding it manually, and then click next and you're going to be in the same page where I am right here. Okay, so once you have done that, let's go ahead and add core data. So go ahead and click on new file, and we want to select or find data model. Okay, and we are going to call this drawing doc XE, so drawing dot model. Okay, now this drawing doc model is gonna have one entity, and let's go ahead and create that entity. So we're gonna call this drawing doc. Okay, and here what we're gonna do is we're gonna create 3 attributes for it. There's gonna be a name, and this is going to be string type. There is going to be an ID. It's going to be a UUID, and there's going to be a data type, which is going to be of type binary data. So what we're going to be doing is basically we're going to be saving this drawing information that we gather from the PencilKit and convert it into data representation, and basically there is a way to get the data information out of that drawing, and then we're going to save that into the database. Okay, so yeah, these 3 properties you're gonna need. All right, so let's go ahead and save this, and next I'm gonna create a new group here, and we're gonna call this one models. Okay, although we're gonna only need one model, and you're gonna create another group, and this one we're gonna call data manager. Okay, now model is gonna have a file which is gonna be our drawing document. So select a new Swift file. We're gonna call this one drawing document. All right, and this drawing document is basically gonna represent the data structure that we're gonna be managing, passing around, identifying our document. So specifically, basically this guy right here, what it is, what's his name, what kind of data it has, and there's a unique ID that we're gonna attach to it just for SwiftUI purposes. Okay, So we're going to create a struct. This is going to be called drawing document. Okay, and this drawing document is going to conform to identifiable protocol. Now if you already know about identifiable protocol, if you don't, you just can click on it to see the definition, or command click to jump to the definition. And identifiable protocol, the only requirement or sole requirement is to basically provide a ID. So so just to provide an ID is basically, the purpose is that your SwiftUI is going to manage these states for you, but it needs to identify elements based on this ID, so it can actually do things with it. For example, when you show your items in the list, right, and what happens, like, how does SwiftUI know which list you have selected? Right, so that ID comes in handy when you delete an item. At that time, that ID comes in handy when you actually we don't have a move functionality where we can move the row to reshuffle them. If we had that, that functionality is also a part of your ID. So ID actually helps SwiftUI recognize what that element is. So that's why it has to be unique. Now, the perfect way to create a unique ID is to use UUID, which is called a universally unique ID value. Okay, so you just create the type with that. Then you create a data, that's going to be another type in our data structure, or another property in our data structure, and this is basically going to hold this data that we're going to draw. So drawing data is going to be held inside this data property. Then we also need name, so let's create name as a variable. All right, and that's going to be of type string. All right, so with that, we are actually now ready to write our CoreDataManager. So let me go ahead and create a new file. We're going to call this one, select Swift file, and we're going to call this one CoreDataManager. And this is the reason why I actually chose not to add database or core data support from the template, because my whole app is clean of the presence of core data. So I don't have any code littered throughout the app about core data, which ultimately I would have to sort of delete and compile everything inside this one class, because this class's sole responsibility is going to be managing the core data, which is why we called it CoreDataManager. And this CoreDataManager is gonna basically handle not only providing the view context, but saving the view context, basically adding new data, getting new data, update and delete. So all the functionalities that you need for the database to do is going to be available here, and this is going to be the center point from where all the data is going to be provided, which makes it really convenient for us to refactor this out if you want to use Realm or any other sort of data store. You can even use Firebase actually, so it makes it easy for us to manage those various different states. And if you want to take it further, you can even apply a strategy design pattern to basically change your data sources depending upon users' preferences. So that's another option that you have. So I'm just giving you some ideas why we have actually decided to separate it out. But if you feel like core data template helps you, feel free to, by all means, I use that several times, but yeah, in this case I needed a little bit more control, so thought we can actually create it this way. Okay, CoreDataManager, we're going to create a class, and this class is going to be singleton, so we're going to create a static let shared CoreDataManager. Okay, we're gonna make our init private, so no one initializes this, and then we're gonna create our persistent container. So we're gonna say lazy var persistent container. Okay, and here we're gonna create a container. Now the name is basically the name of the file, this file right here, this name. So I'm just gonna select and copy so I don't type by mistake, like misspell something. And we're gonna return the container. So this error is gone, and now we're gonna basically load the persistent stores from the container. So we're gonna say load persistent stores. This actually gives us a completion handler. Now this completion handler has two things. There's a store description and an error. Okay, we really don't have anything to do with store description. We do want to track if there's any error loading, so we're gonna say if let error is equal to error as ns error optional. Okay, so basically there is an error. We wanna actually cause our program to crash because this is a serious problem. So I'm gonna simply say unresolved error, and also print some user info about the error. So like that. Okay, and that is going to be our persistent container. Now next we're going to need a function to save context, and we're going to simply create a persistent container dot view context. If context has changes, then we want to write them or save them so they're written on the disk. Otherwise we're gonna catch any error. So I'm gonna copy and paste the same fatal error, and simply gonna replace this with ns error. There we go. Okay, so that is our save context. Okay, let's go ahead and write a function to add data to the database. So add data document, drawing document that we get our data model, and we're going to create a drawing out of this from drawing doc. This is our manage object, and we're going to say context is persistent container dot view context. Drawing dot id is drawing dot name is doc dot name. Okay, and we are simply gonna say do try persistent container so we can call persistent container dot save, or we can actually call save context here. Okay, and this is going to basically save the current context. Okay, all right, so then we're gonna actually write a function to get data, and this is going to return an array of drawing documents. Okay, and we're gonna first create a request. This request is basically just a query and is fetch request of type drawing doc dot fetch request. Okay, and we're gonna say request dot return objects as false is equal to false, and fetch results is basically an empty array of drawing document. So we wanna try a do try catch, and I'll say if let result is equal to try persistent container dot view context dot fetch request for data in result. So if there's any data in the result, loop over it, and we're going to say fetch results dot append a new drawing document, and this takes three things. So we're gonna get the ID. If there's nothing, then we're gonna simply create an ID dot data. If there's nothing, then we're gonna create an empty data, and data dot name. There's nothing, then empty. Okay. All right, and we're gonna provide a catch, and we're gonna print fetching failed. Okay. All right, and we are missing return, so we're gonna return our fetch results. There we go. Okay, so that is basically retrieving all the saved documents from the core data database. All right, so we're gonna create a function for update data, and update data is gonna take data drawing document. Okay, and we're gonna once again create a request. Then we're gonna create a predicate, and this is gonna be ns predicate. Okay, and the predicate's format is basically going to be ID is equal to %at. Okay, so this is going to be that we want to search the ID with this, so we're going to say simply data dot ID as c var arg. Okay, and that's how you're gonna search basically the UUID, and we can simply say request dot predicate is equal to the predicate that we have created, and then we're gonna put our do try catch block. Okay, and we're gonna say results we're gonna call set value, and we're gonna say data dot data for data key, and we're gonna call save context. Okay, all right, there's nowhere, oh yeah, we are using try here, so we're gonna catch and print error saving document update. All right, So let's go ahead and write the last function here for delete data. This once again takes drawing document. Okay, once again we're gonna create a request. We're gonna say include property values is equal to false, and then we're gonna create our predicate. Once again, the format is going to be id is equal to %at and data.id as c_var arg. Request.predicate is equal to the predicate that we have created, and we're gonna do the search. So results, and we're gonna loop over each item that we get from the result, and we're simply gonna say persistent container.vContext.delete and that item. Okay, and once we are done, we're gonna simply call save context, and we do wanna catch document from database. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and try to build, and with that our core data manager is actually finished. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you notice, this is actually this is all the core data related there is that we're gonna need for our app, and this actually gives us a flexibility where now all we need to do is call these functions and get the data out of the database without littering our code, our core data management, our core data access code throughout the app. So this basically makes it perfect for us to decouple from anything else. So which is why I actually prefer, like, having it this way. Okay, so with that, our core data manager is complete, and I guess this is a wrap for this video. And in the next video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our drawing manager. Our drawing manager is basically gonna be the coordinator between your core data and your drawing. So basically it's gonna be it's gonna act like a view model per se. That view model is basically going to be responsible for talking to your view or the caller wherever you're trying to save. So it's going to be the view and basically your database. Okay, so it's going to be sort of like mediator for that. Okay, so we're gonna work on that next. So I'll see you guys in next video. Thank you.